We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Week 14 Sunday NFL preview on the Sports Box. I am Brian Attard along with Tony Quigley, and a face you may remember from a couple of guest spots making an appearance today on this Sunday, Tony. And Tone, how are you, bud?
What's up, boys? Morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Quigley, you're looking dapper as always.
Well, I try. Our female viewership, always takes a little bit of a jump when I'm on. So I try to bring the A game every day.
We appreciate it. So, show today brought to you by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Check the boys out. Free app, Apple App Store, Google Play. Use our code THEBOX. Get 10 free points to start. You can win cash and prizes. Predicting the outcome of both real and virtual sporting events. It's a lot of fun. If you're like me, you'll be terrible. So use the points because you're going to need them. We are expecting Brian Hess to jump on late. Potentially some other people as well. Ask her when she shows up. But the big news of the day recently reported, NFL Network. Eagles will start Jalen Hurts the rest of this season, gets his first start today against the New Orleans Saints. It's expected Carson Wentz returns next season. Around the room, thoughts on that for one, and thoughts on the safety of current head coach Doug Peterson and anybody else in that front office.
Well, when you're looking at the Eagles situation, we talked about it for a number of weeks. It's kind of been a dumpster fire. I think from top to bottom, you find out that this organization has a lot of issues, and it's not just one person to point the finger at. Carson Wentz has played probably. I mean, if Cam Newton wasn't in the league, he'd probably be the worst quarterback in the NFL right now, just because of how he's played. But when you look at the totality of the situation with Howie Roseman, Doug Peterson, I mean, there's just a disconnect there, and it translates from the front office all the way down to the field. Carson Wentz absolutely is definitely going to return. I don't think Doug Peterson wants to be there anymore. It seems like he's kind of just resigned to get out of there. And Roseman's connection with Laurie, that might be his saving grace. So they might maybe add somebody to that front office, more of a football mind. But when you're looking at it, I think the person most likely not to return would be Doug Peterson.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of agree with you, Tony. It is a dumpster fire. I feel they have to bring one back for one more year. You can't just let him walk. But I also feel he shouldn't play the rest of the season. Just sit him out, let him take a breather, let him heal. He's probably has some issues. So yeah, there's too much going on around him to put him out there, sacrifice him. They have to go with him one more year.
But couldn't you foresee all of this coming? I mean, it just feels like they make the wrong decision all the time, right? If Jalen Hurts was a 4th round pick, maybe a late 3rd round pick, I don't think we're having these discussions. Like I think that his draft position and all of the controversy around it create this, because when you take a guy in the spot in which he was taken, the expectation is you have intentions to play him, which don't really jive with the very large contract and the very large pick and the very large trade package that you sent to move up to go get him. Like, he's never really had that job to himself, which is weird, because if you really think about, again, the package to move up to 2 to get him, the contract, the guys who were I don't know if any individual player has been invested more as an individual player than Wentz has in Philadelphia, yet they don't support him. It's either always someone over his shoulder. He never has okay, this is my job and I can just go and I'm not worried about it. Whether you think that matters or not, that's the truth. It's never been just his job. There's a statue of Nick Foles outside the building. So it's just weird to me. Tony, I agree with you. If I'm Doug Peterson, we're going to talk about this too as we go along. I don't know that I want to be there next year. Can you think of some? I don't want to get too far ahead, but to me, like that roster, that next 3 to 5, doesn't look that promising in Philadelphia with that roster in that situation.
No, they're cap strapped. I mean, they have an older team, so yeah, it's not the best promising situation. But you know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna have to disagree a little bit, Brian, as far as Wentz, because Wentz did have that job. He was all his. You know, Eagles fans are quick to remind you that he was going to be the MVP, which you know who knows what would happen. But before they went on that Super Bowl run, so he was playing lights out. When he got hurt, and Nick Foles capitalized on the opportunity. That's when Wentz started to go downhill. Listen, being hurt and injured and everything like that, it happens in the NFL. It shows a lot about you, how you recover, how you come back even stronger. Foles' success did something to him mentally. Now, a lot of people are blaming Jalen Hurts being picked in the second round as one of the reasons why Wentz isn't, you know, doing as well, because he's thinking about this. I think Foles. I think Wentz went off the train tracks a little bit when Foles started doing, you know, great. Won the Super Bowl, you know, first time in Eagles history. I mean, so I think that's where it started deteriorating at Wentz's confidence. Then when he isn't fully healthy, that's a big hurdle to get over too. I think it all snowballed. And then you see, here's the thing that I think we're missing a little bit too. When you look at it, like no one has a better view of what Carson Wentz is going through in his performance than Doug Peterson and the Eagles organization. Maybe they saw the writing on the wall of Wentz going downhill, and that's the reason why they took Jalen Hurts. It's a major possibility. Now we all look at it like they have Wentz. What are they doing? Maybe they saw this coming, and that's why they went up and made the shocking pick of Jalen Hurts.
But here's I hear you on that. Here's my question there, though. The period of time between when the contract was signed and Hurts was drafted was one season in which they won their division. He had 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He took a bunch of plumbers the last 4 games of the year and won their division. Now, part of that's because Dallas failed. I'm not disputing any of that. But they still won their division. They still got a home playoff game regardless. I look at that and I say, what variable changed in anybody's mind where we're 12 months, call it 12 months. It might have been less. From when I'm signing a guy to $120 some odd million deal and committing so much money to him and time to when I'm potentially drafting a replacement in the second round. And I don't think he was ever drafted that way. I think he's still an insurance policy given his injury history, but that's my thing. Like, what changed? Like, it wasn't a bad year. That wasn't now pick this year up and drop it in that. You might have me for that. Like that, I can buy that, right? I can buy, okay, now we have some concerns because this is a stretch where he's been absolutely terrible. Doesn't look like it's going to change. Maybe we need to insure ourselves. Last year wasn't that, right? So that's the part that escapes me. Like if I'm trying to follow your logic, I not yours, but I'm trying to follow the team's logic. If that's the case, I don't follow it.
Well, I think what you need to realize is that contract was more of a situation is they didn't have any, and there was no other option really. Like, how would they not sign him at that point? Okay, they had so much invested on him. You know, similar with not what they didn't. The Rams don't have that much invested in Jared Goff except in number 1 pick. But when you look at there was nobody. I think we showed the stat a couple of weeks ago about how much the Eagles actually put as far as in draft capital, money, and everything like that. So just with that draft capital and what Wentz is to the organization, they had to sign him. Now let's look at that contract a little bit, right? Yes, it's a bad contract for when he's playing so bad. But when these other guys start getting their contract, Dak's going to get a new deal. These other guys, you see what Mahomes got. Like, it's almost average now. Top 10 or whatever like that. Yeah, it's not good. But in a couple of years, that contract isn't going to be looked at such a dreadful if he performs at a decent level. If they have to get rid of him, then obviously eating the $59 million is horrendous. But the contract, as it progresses and everybody else progresses around them, isn't going to be that bad.
The contracts around the Eagles that have strapped the team. And I kind of agree with Tony. There's something going on behind the scenes in the locker room we don't see. And I feel the Hurts pick might have came from ownership. Could have came down from ownership. So,
you're right about the locker room, Meads.
Yeah, it's just a disaster. Something's
the
going on.
locker room does not support Wentz. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, anybody who's
Some-
been in any kind of team sport, right? Any kind of team sport. If you've seen how Jalen Hurts went into that game last week, okay? When he went in, he just didn't play. Like, obviously he's rookie. He played solid. Everybody around him picked up the game. The entire team had confidence. And if you've been in the locker room, if you've been in the team, when you're a part of that team, like, this guy can't get it done. Jalen's in? Okay, let's go. Now we have a shot. And it seems like that's the mentality that the team embraced last week. And I think that has a lot to say with, Jalen Hurts and Wentz don't even talk to each other. There's reports out there that no one's ever seen them talking to each other. How does that happen? I think it's just it's poor mentality and small mentality by Wentz.
If they have some kind of success today against the Saints defense, it's gonna open a lot of eyes.
The best
it's
defense
going to make
in the
things
NFL.
very interesting. Yeah, if they have any kind of success today, could put up any kind of fight, it's going to open a lot of eyes, and things may change quickly.
It's a highly rated Saints defense. We'll get into that game. As far as is Peterson safe, I think there's two roads that could lead him out. One is by force and one is by will. I think he might just walk away from this because I said I don't think it's a very attractive situation. He might be the fall guy if the GM and the owner are like this and they're contractually obligated to the quarterback. Financially, they really can't move on. You can say whatever you want to. Sports fans forget that there's a business side to this, and there's no way they're going to have that kind of a cap. I don't see it. There's just no way. So if one of the triangle has to go, I do think Peterson is the most likely.
And I don't think he has the demeanor and the personality to handle adversity outwardly with as far as like a leadership position. It just doesn't really seem that he seems like he's a little bit more laid back and he's more of a steady and he's good when the ship is sailing straight, but once it starts getting rocky, he doesn't seem like he has the personality to really grip the reins in and steady the ship.
It doesn't look good for him either when his assistants leave and they do better, and they do well, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
So
we asked this question in Outside the Box. It was our sports discussion group, guys. If you haven't been in there, join that. It's a lot of fun. Over 4,300 members in that now. And decisively, it went to yes. And the question was, if Doug Peterson were either let go or walked away from Philadelphia, would he get a head coaching job next season? I think that he would. I think that the Super Bowl ring, whether you
absolutely
whether you think like he's that great of a coach, and I personally don't. I didn't like the hire. I know they won a Super Bowl. I get it. Well, I'm not going to back off of that. I don't think that he was the main reason for it, although I give him credit for a couple good weeks. The ring carries some clout. There's only so many people that can say they've coached a Super Bowl team. So that does carry some clout. There's going to be some openings, which we're going to talk about. So, Tony, does he get a job? If he were on the market, is he off the market by week one?
I would think that I think that there's a significant value for him in the NFL, but I think the situation would have to be right. The market would have to be right. I don't think that teams would be beating their doors down for him as some hot coaching prospect. Because listen, he's he has this Philadelphia Eagles situation for whatever reason in a bad situation, and do you bypass a guy like Eric Bieniemy or some of the other young and upcoming innovative player coaches that are up there for what you want to call a retread? So I wouldn't be, if I was an NFL owner or GM and making a decision, Doug Peterson would not be very high on my list initially. Because from what I see of him, I don't see much innovation. I don't see, phenomenal in-game management, disconnect with the quarterback, which is your star player, which is normally a death sentence. I mean, when you talk about, Peterson told Wentz he wanted him to run certain plays, and Wentz told him, no, they're Foles plays. So when you're looking at stuff like that from a leader of my organization in the NFL, a $1 billion organization, I don't want Doug Peterson to be the head coach. But NFL is a network. It's a company, it's a business, and they do have their favorites. And I think Peterson, is along those lines. So I do think he would get an opportunity, but he would not be one of my top 5 choices probably.
Yeah, I agree. He gets all the interviews, but picking to rebuild a team, that's not the guy I'm picking. Especially with all the talented assistant coaches out there right now, it's not the guy I'm picking.
And I'm also curious. One of you, I forget which one you brought it up. The idea, could Hurts spark the offense? If he doesn't, and they're terrible, what does that mean for him? Like, you can blame the offensive struggles on Wentz specifically if Hurts turns it around, and then it's not Doug. If they go out there and look terrible again, is it maybe Peterson? And does that impact his ability to get a job somewhere else? I think that's fair. I think the ring carries clout for a couple of teams that have not gotten anywhere near one, like Detroit, that would carry some clout. We're going to talk about that, though. Another situation in the same division with the head coach is Mike McCarthy in Dallas. This has been a dumpster fire in Dallas this year. Very easily could have been 0-4 when Dak went down. Now you blame the year on Dak not being there. It is what it is. He's considered to be safe, but there are likely changes on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I've been banging the drum for that for a couple of weeks now, because you have basically, in essence, the same defense you've had the past 2 seasons, which has been average to a little bit above average the last couple of years. In fact, they could have made the playoffs the last 2 years. The defense has been fine. This year, they are god-awful. They are the worst defense in the NFL, especially against the run. And the personnel hasn't really changed outside of a couple pieces here and there. Therefore, I am attributing their lack of success specifically to the feet of Nolan. Tony, are you driving the truck to get him the hell out of town?
Oh, absolutely. Saying Mike McCarthy's safe shows one thing. Jerry Jones doesn't want to admit too strongly that he made a complete mistake with the coaching hire. After being so loyal to Jason Garrett for so many years, finally makes a change and just brings in an absolutely mess of a situation. So Mike McCarthy staying is kind of trying to have Mike Nolan be the fall guy, but Mike Nolan needs a ton of blame. Like I stated this many, many times. Last time Mike Nolan was a defensive coordinator, his team was last in the NFL in defense, right? So then he becomes a linebacker coach. A couple years later, old boy Mike McCarthy gets a head coach, brings his old boy Mike Nolan in. Okay, so now here you go. So now we're in a situation with the worst defense in the NFL. Well, they played a little bit better, or maybe his opponent. So but they're one of the worst defenses in the NFL by far. Embarrassing run defense, and it's just a mess. So I don't know what people expected with Mike Nolan coming in. He's misusing, Dexter Lawrence. He's misusing some of the other guys, having them guys stand up. Gregory, it's just bad fit. And then here's the problem. Okay. In the beginning of the season, it was a fit. You see the guys are a little bit unsure of their steps. They don't really know exactly 100% where they're going. You have rookies, you have injuries in the secondary. So, it's a mess. There was a little continuity there for a little bit, so the defense started playing a little bit better. But then as you see last week, this team is done. They're completely done with Mike Nolan. The defensive effort is just not there. There was a huge play. I forget the touchdown run last week, where Leighton Vander Esch, who looked like one of the best linebackers in the league before this season, right? Now for some reason he's always in the wrong position, right? Always in the wrong position. So that leads me to believe that his assignment is changing. So his reaction is changing. His what he's supposed to be doing. As far as following it, he overshot the gap, and then cut back was wide open, and he had to chase him down. So on the video, it's like, wow, man, he really missed where to play. But what was his assignment on that defense, right? Did he have outside contain? So, this is little things that you got to look at. So you got a guy who's been great in the league for 2 years, and now all of a sudden he's horrible. And then you got guys like Xavier Woods with no will to tackle, no will to hit hard, and the only reason why he was in the league was because he was a good hitter. His ball skills and everything like that were suspect. So to start out, you need to fire Nolan. You need to fire everybody about it. Remember, Brian, I don't know if you remember this, but when, Jason Garrett was on the hot seat, who was the coach in waiting?
Chris Richard.
Chris Richard, right? defense wasn't great, but Richard had a good rapport with the defense. The guys played hard. I mean, they just had a lot of holes. I would, in hindsight, it might have been better just to keep him on the staff like they did with the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, and see how that happens for at least 1 year. Because the other thing, and I beat this like a drum all the time, the continuity in the COVID situation where they cannot train is extremely, extremely difficult to put in a new scheme. And when you're looking to put in a new scheme in this situation where it's not hitting, guys are questioning it. And if they're unsuccessful in this scheme, now they're not going to want to play in the scheme. So get rid of Nolan as fast as possible. If I'd be on the get rid of McCarthy bandwagon as well and just start fresh, but I don't think that's a possibility.
I didn't like the McCarthy signing in the first place. I kind of felt their offense was there. They needed a defensive guy. I think they need a defensive guy as coach. And, from watching the Cowboys just from afar, I mean, they're not the same team. They don't run the ball. Their offensive line is decimated. No time of control. No, they're not eating up the clock. It's common phrase this year in NFL football is a dumpster fire. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said that word this season from some teams, but it's just one of those years. You got to chalk it up. I mean, that's it,
I'm fine with again, look, the coach is the coach. I just think this year, for so many reasons in Dallas, it's a throwaway year. Look, the quarterback got hurt early in the year. Offense. I mean, they've been I mean, every team has, but they've really been decimated by injuries on the offensive line, which gives you concern about the running back because, again, you get the running back all this money. Turns out he might be a product of your offensive line. That's a problem.
Tony Pollard looks really good behind that offensive line sometimes, though, bro.
It's just, but look. I mean, we can rehash.
Quicker, that's for sure.
Hated the pick, hated the contract, hated everything about it. I mean,
fumbling wasn't the offensive line's issue either.
It's a bad year.
Yeah.
I mean, but in the COVID environment that we have is how much of a pass do guys get? Like, hey, you know what? Nolan never had a true offseason to put his defense in. God, could it be worse than it actually is? I don't know. I agree. I don't think you can go into next season with the same group, and I think he's more likely the fall guy. I think they're more committed to McCarthy. I think Jones does not like to admit mistakes. So I think that he can shovel the mistake of Nolan onto McCarthy, but he's the one that hired McCarthy. So he's more likely to say, oh, well, you know what? You're the one that made this mistake. We'll let you fix it. But I brought you in to do something. You're not doing it. So, and plus with Dak not there, McCarthy can't be fired. Well, he can be fired. Anybody can be fired, but and in a COVID year, I get it. I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying is to me, this is just one of those years where you get, whether you deserve it or not, you're going to get a free pass.
Well, yeah, this year, but the upcoming year, he absolutely can be fired because they're going to be back on track. They're going to be back on track with the scheduling, at least. The big thing was the delay. Now they could still, they'll be in a COVID year now. They're still going to be under the same time frame that they had. They're going to have the long training camp and everything like that, and they're going to be fine. And let's, speaking of COVID, today, week 14, no issues with COVID, no delayed games, no stuff like that. So
nobody.
Let's knock on wood.
Yep. 4 games left to go in the NFL regular season. We take a look around the league. We mentioned we think Doug Peterson isn't exactly safe, but he might make the call to go. We think McCarthy is based on the report. So just kind of wanted to go around the league, just kind of see which guys we think are safe and which ones are at risk of their job. Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, I think, is absolutely safe. He is very much tied to the quarterback there. I think they're going to make any changes there. From what you've seen in Raheem Morris in Atlanta, would you give him the job? Would you highly consider him for the job?
Absolutely. I mean, why? What are they going to do by bringing in somebody else? The team's played hard. They played better for him. I'm not really thinking that there's too many coaches that are beating the door to go down and play. For Arthur Blank, with an aging quarterback and a old running back and a injured wide receiver. So I think if the team's playing hard for him and he's comfortable in the situation, I think that you're looking at Morris staying in Atlanta.
Yeah, he's a player's coach. He's definitely a player's coach. They play hard for him, and I agree with Tony. This team's going to be going downhill the next couple of years. Ryan, Julio, they have no running back. So Atlanta's going to be a total rebuild within a year or two, in my opinion.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule too coming up. I mean, after they get by the Chargers today, they got Tampa Bay, Kansas City, then Tampa Bay. So good luck, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, it is a stark difference between what was there with Dan Quinn and what he's brought to the table. Whether that's just a change in voice or it's actually him like bringing something there, you kind of wonder what could have been the last couple of years with this team. And they've really wasted a lot of the great careers of Ryan and Jones and a lot of the guys that have been through there with just one Super Bowl appearance, which they should have won, but they didn't. And yeah, I mean, it's not a bad spot, but it's a short-term spot because I think you're right, Means. I think that's gonna be a whole ball of wax changeover and that's a couple of teams that are in that spot. Yeah. John Harbaugh in Baltimore. So the way I look at Baltimore, listen, I mean, he's there, and I think until he wants to leave. But I will tell you that like this was supposed to be a year that everybody thought they were going to be 12 wins, 13 wins, 14 wins. What's his name? Cowherd thought they were going to win all 16 games. We haven't seen that at all out of this team. They've really, really struggled. Again, I'm not going to say he's going to lose his job. What I'm saying is like there's some chinks in the armor there. I mean, you have every capability to be a lot better than you are, and you're not. You can't really blame the quarterback. Well, you can, but you're not going to. So now, from a Harbaugh standpoint, yeah, he'll be back next year, but I don't think it's like this is like your job until you want to leave now. I think like he needs to actually like fix this.
Well, I think you know the team was beat up a little bit, losing Stanley and having Yanda leave right before the season and retirement. I mean that you know decimated your O-line real quick. Offensively, I think I've been a big detractor of Greg Roman all season. I just think he's just been horribly making adjustments. Receivers can't catch the damn ball. Then they get decimated by COVID. So I think from rating the skid against the Cowboys, which is always good. If they're closing out the season on a pretty favorable schedule. So when you're, all in all, I think they'll get about 10 wins, and I don't think there's going to be too many issues. It's less than expectations, but they're really going to be fighting for a playoff spot. So a huge game Monday night too. So I mean, Harbaugh's safe, he's safe as can be.
Yeah, I would love to have a Harbaugh coach my team. It'd be great. But
he's coming. He's coming.
I just Ravens are just a weird team. It's like they could just dominate, and then they could look so lackluster. And their offense is. I'm just not feeling their offense this year. Like Tony said, they have no number one receiver. It feels like they have slot guys and big tight ends. So
Hollywood Brown wants to cry all about not getting the ball, and then the ball gets to him, and he fucking drops it.
Yeah, he don't even catch it. Yeah, he don't get open. They really don't even get open.
He wants in the game against Dallas. He one hands he tries to one hand the ball, catching it, and then next thing you know, it bounces and it's an interception. Like if you're going to complain and try to beat Hollywood, he was the first. Listen, Hollywood Brown was the number one receiver pick too. Remember that. He was a first round pick.
Absolutely.
He's not living up to expectations at all. And Jackson does have accuracy issues, but when he gets the damn ball to you, you got to catch it. And he's not doing it.
Bring in Trace McSorley, Sports Box guest. They throw a touchdown pass in Pittsburgh.
The Ravens are always just going to get 9 to 10 wins on just pure talent because their roster is always second to none. I mean, their roster is always good.
Yeah, so, they do a phenomenal job.
Yeah. They're always in for 8 to 10 wins, it feels like. So they're always in it. Harbaugh's good.
Sean McDermott, safe as can be. Matt Rule just got the job there. But we move over to the Windy City and Matt Nagy. I'm going to give Meads the floor here because I think he's got some angst to get out. And listen, as we know from Star Wars, let the hate flow through you.
Well, listen, coming out of Chicago recently is that Pace and Nagy are on the hot seat, and today is a gigantic game, and nothing would make me happier to see them lose to Deshaun Watson and just blow this whole thing up because it is, again, a dumpster fire. The Bears are a dumpster fire team this year. Horrible. So he's coaching for his job. He's coaching for his job today, and the rest of the year, in my opinion. And Pace has to go. Listen, when you miss out on a quarterback, this is what happens. You're going to be screwed for 5 to 10 years. You know, they made the Mac trade thinking they had a quarterback. So let's get this guy. You know, he could be the piece to put us over the top because we have a quarterback. We're going to be paying nothing. So that's why they made that trade with the Raiders. You know, I mean, now you look back and everyone's like, oh, Mac, don't do this. But at the time, it made sense. So I give Pace that credit. But he struck out on the quarterback, and now this thing is all screwed up. All screwed up. And that's what happens in the NFL. You miss, and you're screwed. And now they're probably going to be both out of job because of this. But I'm going to add that Nagy did not draft, obviously, Trubisky. Fox did not want Trubisky. So Pace overrode all those guys in the room and drafted Trubisky. So this is really on Pace. So if anybody goes, it's Pace. I can maybe deal with Nagy one more year, but Pace has to go because he screwed this up.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at, when you're talking about missing on a quarterback, it's one thing. I mean, that hurts organization, sets them back probably about 4 or 5 years. But when you miss on a quarterback and then you see Deshaun Watson picked after him and some other guy that I forget his name.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, listen, we hear all the time the Eagles fans crying about, oh, we didn't draft DK Metcalf, we drafted JJ. Listen, they have no idea of the pain that Bears fans feel when you have to sit there and watch Watson and Mahomes play every week. Screw DK Metcalf and crying about a receiver. When you miss on a franchise quarterback, you're done.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't care if they win out. I don't think there's any way he comes back next year. I think there's a couple of teams need a front office like cleanse. They need a front office cleanse. Like they need everybody to go.
And if Jim Harbaugh wants the job, I think it's Jim Harbaugh's job.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there have been some there's been some wasted opportunities. You look at the Bears, the defense they've had the last couple of years. Had you just not made that pick, you probably got a couple of rings, and that's the reality. So that's the unfortunate part.
All downhill after they fired Lovie Smith, a guy who dominated the Packers, 8 to 10 wins every year, and got rid of Lovie Smith after they won 10 games. What kind of organization does that? Who does that? So listen. They made their bed and they're lying in it. And the city of Chicago is up and is uproar. Between the Phillies, the Eagles, and the Bears, they're really the same team right now. But the Bears didn't pay their quarterback $150 million, so they're in a little better position than the Eagles.
Definitely not an ideal spot. Cincinnati, I think Zach Taylor's fine only because I think they want to keep the continuity with the quarterback, and the results haven't really been there, but they weren't really trying to get them this year anyway, so we'll see where they are next year. Kevin Stefanski is the host of the town in Cleveland, so he's as safe can be. We think Mike McCarthy's safe. Vic Fangio in Denver, second year there. The results have been, they were a team I think many people thought would be, take maybe a little bit of a step up this year. Hasn't really materialized. There are some questions now as to whether Drew Lock is going to be there's always to be the question. I think it's been there since Elway, minus the Peyton years. Who's going to be the quarterback of this team? They may be looking again, depending where they fall in the draft. I think it's a little early to pull the plug on Fangio. I don't really blame him for the injuries that they've had this year, so I kind of give him a pass. What do you guys think?
Their defense has been he's a defensive guy. I mean, I know him, but his defense has been playing well. That defense keeps them in the game. But, they have talent. The wide receivers they have and the end, they need a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, the guy had to start a wide receiver off the practice squad as a quarterback this year. So, yeah, it's tough. And what really were the preseason expectations for this team? They have 4 wins now. I mean, if they get 6 wins, I think that probably meets expectations. The Melvin Gordon signing, I think, was a mistake. I mean, he's played good in some spots, played horrible in other spots, but Phil Lindsay shows that he's a player. So I didn't get that aspect of it. But when you talk about Fangio, I mean, expectations are pretty well met with a young quarterback. Cortland Sutton's out all season too. So, I mean, they're going to have a nice young receiving core. And if Locke could throw the ball, I think that he'll Fangio and his defense did enough to get it done.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't put it at his feet. I mean, I think he's been dealt a bit of a bad hand this year. Darrell Bevell in Detroit, I don't think is going to keep that job next year. We'll talk about that in just a second. LaFleur's fine. Crennel's a retread. Reich's fine. Doug Marrone in Jacksonville was supposed to get fired last year and didn't. I think he's as good as gone. The fact that you're going to
he's gone.
Whether that's Fields or Lawrence, depending how the draft falls, it's probably going to be Fields. Feels like the right time, which is always the time, in Jacksonville to make a quarterback change. Dave Corson, the Eagles may have missed on a franchise quarterback too, but not as badly as the Bears.
I don't know.
The charge Melvin Gordon. Yeah, I don't like paying running backs. Doug Marrone gone, yeah? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, he caught his I would think so. But you'd have to see who's available first, because if you're bringing in a young quarterback like that into the organization, and you want a complete fresh start and a fresh overhaul, you better get a good offensive mind there that's innovative, that could, use Lawrence or Fields or Wilson or whoever else they want to, target as quarterback, Trey Lance or whoever winds up, somebody that needs to get there. And here's the thing too, when you hire him, make sure he's the guy for your job for at least 3 years, and you get that quarterback and you're allowed to develop with them. Stop giving these young quarterbacks a new head coach every season, because I don't know what you expect from them to do. It's just a mess.
Reed's obviously fine. Gruden, I guess, is fine since he owns part of the team. I guess he can veto his firing. Garth brought up Anthony Lynn. We talked about this a couple weeks. I wouldn't let him go for the simple fact that I like the continuity with the young quarterback. So for me, I would let that simmer a little bit. I don't Hess, who's supposed to show up, we'll see if he actually does. He made the point that, they rank very highly in offense and defense, but they can't win games. That could be a coaching thing. So there's some thought there that maybe you make that move. I don't hate it, but I don't think it's a necessity. Anthony Lynn?
It seems like, there's been a lot of backlash against Lynn for what he does there in games. And I think just kind of Anthony Lynn, for, every considerable reason football-wise, should get fired most likely. It just doesn't seem like he is a head coach that's going to take your team to the next level, to playoffs, especially when you're trying to battle division for Pat Mahomes. That's just a uphill battle. And I don't think Lynn gets it done. It's just the same. It's just what I think we touched on this a little bit last week. It's just scary when you have a guy like Herbert playing good football, and now you want to change the situation around him. It is scary, but so if they do make a change, I wouldn't be surprised to see Herbert regress, a little bit until he gets comfortable in the new situation and then takes off. So I think Lynn is gone.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he's gone. Anthony Lynn's like kind of coach I would run through a wall for, though. Like, he's definitely like a player's coach, but the stuff that happens in game is just inexcusable, and you lose in the NFL and you're out. That's all there is to it, Game, I like the guy. I really think he's a coach, but the stuff that happens in game is just inexcusable.
Yeah, that's what I say. Likable guy, players like him for the most part, but he just doesn't get the job done. When the clock's running.
McVay is safe. Flores is safe in Miami. Interesting name is Mike Zimmer. I think he probably is safe, but regardless of the fact that Minnesota found their way back to 6-6, this is a team that's underachieved this year, because everybody kind of thought they would be like a lock playoff team. They may have taken the long winding road to get there. Had they not, they'd be in a much better position today if they didn't start the season the way that they did. I think he hangs around because Kirk is signed for next year. So I think that they kind of keep that going until you kind of move away from both if you do. But he's not somebody who I'd say is completely safe if they don't make the playoffs.
It would be hard for me to anticipate them going in another direction. I mean, when you have Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, who's probably having his best season in a long time as far as avoiding the bonehead plays and the big mistakes, when he came into the year, you knew that this team was decimated in the secondary and had really nothing, and then pass rush was lacking as well. So he wasn't coming. I didn't have this team as a lock playoff team. I thought they would be battling for that, but I don't really see right now a reason for Mike Zimmer to be fired or for them to go a different direction. They're pretty much what they are, and what they are isn't good enough. But at the same time, if you bring in the ghost of George Halas, there's not going to be a magic pill to make that team such a great team. So Zimmer stays.
Yeah, he's saying the Vikings are literally a secondary away for being an 8 to 10 win team. They're just decimated on the backside. I know they drafted a couple of rookies. So, I mean, it's just that, like I said, just that type of year. They're decimated on the backside. I think they're a secondary away.
I think that guy in New England's probably okay. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. Sean Payton's got that job until he doesn't want it anymore. Joe Judge has, I think, by all accounts, outperformed. Maybe the wins don't really show it. But that team plays hard for him, so he's got a very good start there. Adam Gase is as good as gone. And there is no alternate universe in which Adam Gase keeps his job. So that's not even worth a discussion. We mentioned Doug Peterson. We think Tomlin is safe. Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, I think, is fine because you just came off a Super Bowl appearance. You had no quarterback this year. Still kind of playing hard. I don't really think that that's much of an issue there. Pete Carroll is safe. Bruce Arians will be there. Mike Vrabel's fine, and Ron Rivera's fine. So, in regards to some of the openings that we think are going to be open,
time out real quick, Bri.
Yes,
Bruce Arians. Did you say he's going to be fine?
I don't think he leaves.
I'm going to tell you right now, if he keeps banging heads with Tom Brady, keeps acting like a pompous asshole, and they don't continue to change the offense, he's not going to be there. I mean, that's a situation and a position right there that I could easily see Josh McDaniels coming down to New England, taking over Brady's last 2 years there. Because, listen, Tom Brady's the greatest freaking quarterback of all time. I've watched Joe Montana's entire career, watched Brady's entire career, like it or not, right? And he's diminished in skills, but the way Arians straight up disrespects him is head scratching. Like Bruce Arians has never won anything as a head coach, nothing. So the guy needs to kind of really know his role, know his place a little bit, because there's plenty of people that could go down there and do the job that he's doing. Interesting tidbit about that is I read that there was a golf trip planned between Arians and Tom Brady, and it got canceled because of COVID restrictions by the NFL, which was kind of funny. But that's not a great relationship down there. And when you're looking at who sells jersey, who gets the feet in the seats, and who is going to actually do something on the football field, Bruce Arians is on the hot seat.
Fair point. I mean, if it's McDaniels, I obviously that does make some sense. He wants to go down there and try one more shot with Brady to try to win something. So that is a fair point. Of the openings that we feel are going to be open, what's one or two you think are really attractive? What's one or two you think aren't so much?
The Chargers. Quarterbacks there. The talent's there. They got wide receivers. They got running backs. Bosa on the other side. They're going to get James back. He's always hurt, but they're going to get him back. Chargers, a new stadium. I mean, Chargers are
LA.
It's a nice spot.
Yeah, when you're looking at, I think that would probably be my number one. Is just because it could just be a great situation because they lost their linebacker too.
Perryman, Denzel Perryman.
Yeah, and then they got a young linebacker in Murray too, and then you bring in Derwin James, Bosa, so that defense is good. You have a franchise quarterback that looks like Herbert is there. You just got to get in there, and as Doug Peterson said, it's about Wentz. We just can't screw him up, which Wentz is screwed up. But you go in there, and Herbert's not going to be screwed up. Hopefully, so that would be a fantastic job. The only downside is you got Mahomes in the Kansas City for the next 10 years, twice a year, and it's not going to be easy. But
you gotta want to accept the challenge.
Yeah. Exactly, and hopefully the ownership there isn't going to blame you too much when you can't win a division. But if you make the playoffs, then that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What other ones did we say was open, bro?
Whichever ones you think. I mean, I know we kind of. I mean, I mean, like me personally, I think the Eagles opening is might be the least attractive spot in the league. I think I'd rather go to the Jets because that team is up against it so bad.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Jets, I definitely see.
It's an old roster, expensive roster. Apparently now the owner wants to be more involved. He wants to think he's Jerry Jones. Okay, cool. That's not going to work out. The GM can't draft. They have had horrible drafts now for a couple of years now, which is why this roster is so old and why it's so expensive and why they're linked to every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's a free agent because they have holes everywhere. And on top of that, the expectations of Philadelphia, who won the Super Bowl not that long ago. That's not a very easy fan base to work for. So to me, I look at that spot and I'm like, wow, that's you're hired to get fired in that spot within 3 years, and I don't see any other way from that. So to me, I would rather go take the Jets spot with Trevor Lawrence coming in, knowing everything about Jets history, hoping that I'm able to be the one that changes it with that kid quarterback. I would much rather be there than be in Philadelphia.
Yeah, you're looking at an Eagles team that is going to need a complete overhaul. And the question I have about Laurie too is has he always been so meddlesome, and is this now coming out when times are a little tough? You know what I'm saying? Has he always been involved like this, and now, but it's just getting leaked because things aren't going how they want them to go? I think that has a big part to it because the owner doesn't just all of a sudden 5 years in or 10 years in just decide, okay, yeah, now I'm going to start messing around with my football team. I think it's probably been there from day one. The other coach, listen, I jump on a Jacksonville job.
Adam Schefter just reported there is thought that Marone stays now. Can't fire. The guy's got pictures. Can't fire him.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
He's got Shad Khan or something. I don't know what he is. You're
talking about a guy with money, but yeah, them or the Jets though. Just the opportunity to go in there and get a new young quarterback. I would probably put the Jets at number 2 because I do think they have some decent young talent.
I mean, I look at that. I look at Philly. I mean, Chicago's again, you don't have a quarterback, and can you go get one? And it's that's a hard spot for me. I don't know.
What's the contract situation with Nick Foles?
I believe they have him one more year.
Yeah, so I mean, Nick Foles has been exposed to what he is. He's a good fit in certain offenses. He's a horrible fit in other offenses. Mitch Trubisky is just not a good quarterback in any way, shape, or form. So
2 years.
If I interview for the Bears job,
they paid him.
Well, they didn't pay him. Jacksonville paid him in what I feel was the worst free agent contract in NFL history. But he's got cap numbers of 6.6 and 10.6 the next 2 years. Although it's a lot easier. You can get out of that contract after 2021 at very minimum.
But it's actually not a death sentence, that contract though. So if I'm taking that Bears job and I don't know what their pick is right now. But when we wait to see, if I'm interviewing for that position, I'm going to demand that I have the ability to go out and get a quarterback that I want and get rid of Trubisky and Foles. Well, I'd probably keep Foles just as a backup because he's comfortable in that role. But, move on. Let me go get my quarterback, whether it's through the draft or if I'm able to, pick somebody up or whatever. That would be the caveat to taking the Bears job.
There's going to be quarterbacks moving around. I mean, I want them to lose out. Try to get that pick, but
I think there's
going to be quarterbacks moving around. I mean, you got Sam Darnold's going to move. I mean, I think it put him in a better situation. He could be a better quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I mean, Garoppolo.
Oh yeah,
too. It's going to be interesting.
I'm higher on Darnold than Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo's got one foot out the door.
Yeah, I would probably prefer to take my chances with Darnold over Garoppolo. Absolutely.
So we will get into this week's slate of games. I don't know where Mike Galletta is, but we're starting off with his Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are hosting the 6-6 Vikings. Bucks -7 over under 53. Career Brady is 14-4 after a bye with an average win of 17 points. For Minnesota, they haven't allowed a 100-yard receiver since week 7, which may not matter for a Bucks team, which likes to spread the ball around quite a bit. But Tony, statistically, there's some interesting comparisons here. If you look back to Mike Evans' first season in 2014, Justin Jefferson sure compares very favorably to it. And for a lot of the, not to necessarily throw salt on purpose, at least, in the wounds of Eagles fans who took Jalen Reagor ahead, kid looks really good. And regardless who the long-term quarterback is in Minnesota, I think that they've got one here that they can build around.
Well, were you talking about build around Jefferson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jefferson looked great and everything like that, but let's not discount the fact that they have a all-pro receiver with Adam Thielen on the other end, who's an absolute stud. Then you have the top 3 running back in the NFL getting the ball, and it's a really good situation for Jefferson to be in. I think Reagor, if he was in the same situation, he would have a lot more success than he would now. I mean, let's just be realistic about it. So I'm not going to sit here and bash the Reagor pick over the Jefferson pick, but I really don't think that has too much play in the game today. I think that the game, as I mentioned to you guys earlier in the chat, Fournette's a healthy scratch today, so that's a little interesting tidbit there. This game is more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what they want to come in after a bye. When you're looking at 14-4 career after the bye, what's Bruce Arians' record after a bye? Let's.
I don't have that.
Yeah, but here's the thing: we've seen in the second half of the Kansas City game the Tampa Bay offense that Tom Brady wants to run, and if they allow him to run it, I think that's what they worked on a lot this week is them running that offense. I think Tampa Bay comes out. The line 7.5 is a little bit higher than I would like, so I'm not going to touch it at all. But I like Tampa Bay to control the game. The over seems about right as far as the over under 9. I think there's going to be some decent points scored, but this is all about Tampa Bay taking advantage of a poor secondary that the Vikings have. Look for Godwin, look for Evans, look for these guys to be successful out of the bye, and and Tampa Bay to get the win. Move to 8-5.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Tampa here 7. I like the 7.5. Tony, you're right, but I think the big thing is the Tampa Bay offense. Watching their previous games, just felt like they just wanted to throw the ball down the field, and then, like Tony said, that adjustment, it was a little different the second half of that game. They were hitting slants, they were hitting outs, they were hitting Gronk. I think if offense adjusts, they're going to be fine. I mean, this is the time they have to start picking it up, Tampa Bay. This is go or no now. They've had 13 games to play with each other. I mean, so we're going to see the real Tampa Bay soon. And I think it starts today because that defense, Viking secondary, just isn't holding up. Is not going to hold up.
Give Kirk Cousins credit here. His numbers compare pretty fairly with Tom Brady's right now. They're not quite there, but they're within the discussion. People have left him for dead coming into this year. That hasn't materialized at all. He's played well. He hasn't been the reason they're only 6-6. I think a lot of their defensive issues have been there. The Vikings are one of 3 teams with 5+ wins and 27+ points per game since week 8. The only other 2, Saints and Chiefs. So the line, I think. I'm going to give it to Tampa Bay simply because the Vikings are a different team away from Minnesota and outdoors. Not that it's any kind of like element in Tampa Bay. It's still warm, but Brady does really well coming out of a bye. That 42-year-old body's rested, so I think he'll be okay. Tampa probably gets a much-needed win here because we'll talk about the Saints. They need to keep pace badly. Talk about a team with a must-win, huh? Arizona 6-6. At the 5-7 Giants. Cardinals are -3 in this game. Over-under is 46.5. Arizona's lost 4 of 5 since starting 5-2, which has put a significant damper on whatever hopes they had of winning the NFC West. Giants defense has been very, very good, was very, very good last week. They've allowed fewer than 20 points in 3 straight for the first time in over a decade. Means, I was very critical of the Daniel Jones pick, not so much because it was him, but because it was 6 and not 17. I maintain that. I don't think he's necessarily a lock to be the quarterback next year. If they're in position to go take a different one, probably will be though. Your read on what the Giants have done the last little bit here to kind of, get into a very strange divisional race with Washington.
It's crazy. It's impressive. And the Giants are actually 8-4 against the spread this year. They're like one of the top teams against the spread, and their defense is playing awesome. Martinez, their linebacker, has had a phenomenal year, making a huge difference. And Daniel Jones hasn't turned the ball over. If he doesn't turn the ball over, the Giants are a good team. I mean, even without Barkley, you got Goldman, their offensive line, their D-line. I mean, it's pretty amazing what Judge has done to turn this team around. I mean, once they started kicking it in gear, they're kicking it in gear. I mean, everyone's going to be rolling with the Giants today. I'm rolling with the Giants today. I don't know how they're not favored. I don't understand this line at all. Murray hasn't run the ball. He's hurt. His shoulder's banged up. Hopkins, I'm hearing, is banged up. This is just weird today. Yeah. So I mean, this it's crazy. The numbers I got against the Giants is spread, and every Sunday I sit here and I say how I picked the Giants to win the division a few weeks ago before they started taking, because they play hard every game. So I mean, every Sunday I'm sitting here saying how hard the Giants play. Listen, the Giants have the better defense. They're at home. They came off of a win against Seattle. Arizona hasn't shown anything in the last few weeks. Listen, Arizona gets a lot of love because, Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, fantasy factors, and that kind of stuff. But when it's all said and done, there's no reason why this defense of the New York Giants should be an underdog to Arizona. Is it a trap game for some reason? I don't see it. I mean, a 1 o'clock West Coast team going to 1 o'clock. Give me the Giants. Give me the 3. Danny Dimes is going to make a play here and there. Money line it. Don't even 3.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think the Giants win. I think they win outright. It's just it's very the line's very weird because there's a lot of disrespect. But when you see this defense, they're just playing too good right now. Jabril Peppers, Blake Martinez, they're flying around the ball. And it's one of them things where and the Giants are really the only team in the NFC East that has incentive to win the division. Brian, they win the division, they get the 19th overall pick. They're not going to be in a position to take a quarterback. And if you're Daniel Jones, you're not going out there to try to tank so they could go take a quarterback. You're going to go out there and try to win.
Yeah.
I like the Giants. That defense is just too good. Wayne Gallman has come in and really, he's played well the last couple of weeks. Give me the Giants, money line, points, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Man,
it's there.
But here's what it comes down to. They have not been running the ball as well. Kyler hasn't been running. I don't know if it's a shoulder thing or not. They're 11-5 hit career when he's got 6 or more carries. They're 0-11-1 with 5 or fewer. And that's their game, right? I mean, that's where they're going to beat you. When he can be himself and he can go run around and he can expose that defense, expose those holes. You got everybody covered. Cool. I'm going to run for 20 yards. Like, that's what they do. So if that's taken away, that's a big problem. And you look to where they were weeks 1 through 7 and where they are now. A lot of the problem, though, the offense has kind of been right around there. It's the defense. They're only scoring about 3 points less per game offensively. The defense is allowing 9 more points per game. That's been the difference. So if they're 1-4 the last 5 games, and that's the difference between the first 7 weeks. Their defense needs to come up in a spot today, because if they go, they had a win. The Giants did them a favor last week of beating Seattle, so that kept that window open. Cards lost anyway. So now, where do you go? I think if you look at teams that desperately need to win today, I think Arizona's one of them. I don't know that they get it. I will lean them slightly. I don't love it. I'm not betting the game. Kyler Murray is the best player on the field. I'm going to assume that he does something with that. But talk about if you go 1-5 in the last 6 games. I mean, you
don't disrespect Leonard Williams like that.
I'm sorry.
I said, don't disrespect Leonard Williams like that. Come on now.
I'm just saying.
Listen, Leonard Williams right now is playing at a
Yeah.
higher level than Kyler Murray is. I mean, yeah, Kyler Murray obviously is the best. Well, DeAndre Hopkins as well too. So I mean, but anyway, yeah, I mean, you're looking at Arizona team that's been a letdown right now.
Listen, the Giants are in a spot right now. The Cards aren't. The Cards are right in the cuffs. The Cards need a Vikings loss as well, but they need to get themselves into the playoffs. Yeah. I think it'd be a big disappointment if that team doesn't make it after starting 5-2.
The only way I see Arizona winning this game is if Danny Jones comes out and makes some huge mistakes that cost his team 7 to 14 points, and that could swing the difference big time. And that's a very realistic possibility because the Arizona defense though has not shown much. But I'm still comfortable taking the Giants.
Definitely the game of the early afternoon. The 11-1 Kansas City Chiefs visit the 8-4 Miami Dolphins. Chiefs are laying 7 in this game. Over under is 50. Chiefs have won 9 consecutive on the road, as longest active streak in the league. Miami's allowed 21 points or fewer in 9 of 12 games this season. That's the most. Something tells me that's going to be hard to make it 10 of 13 against this Chiefs offense. Meads, I don't have to remind you that your team did not draft Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to do that right now. I think we've beaten that to death. However, does the 7 seem high given that Miami's defense has played as well as it has this year?
It does seem high. The Chiefs haven't covered the last 3-4 weeks. Trust me, I know. I've had them.
Carolina, they won by 2, so that wasn't a cover. Las Vegas, they won by 4. That wasn't a cover. Tampa Bay, they won by 3.
They didn't cover.
They didn't cover. They definitely didn't cover last week against Denver. They scored 22-16. I mean, yeah, so they're
so they're hard to trust right now, but it's so hard to go against Mahomes. I could see Miami battling. They have no running back, and I'm not sold on Tua right now. I mean, he's a good player, but that offense is not ready to hang with the KC offense. So this game clearly just relies on Miami's defense. What is Miami's defense going to do? How are they going to contain this offense? And the Chiefs aren't running the ball. So the Chiefs are just going to start sling it all day.
I'll tell you what they're going to do, okay? The game plan's already out for what Miami and Brian Flores wants to do to try to contain this team because you've seen it when they did in New Orleans. They're going to double Tyreek Hill, okay? So they're going to have Xavier Howard on them and roll safety over top. So that's going to leave Eric Rowe man-to-man with Travis Kelce. And that's who Miami likes that matchup, as far as, what they're going to try to do. So what that tells me, I'm taking Travis Kelce over 75 yards because he's going to have a decent day. And I'm also going to take Tua's rushing prop. I think, he's going to, I forget what it's all. I think it was 29.5 off the top of my head. I'm going to take Tua's rushing prop there. I'm completely off of the Chiefs -7. There's no value there. And I'm not taking Miami +7 with a rookie quarterback. It's just not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this is the game that I'm hitting prop.
I would love the Dolphins if Fitzpatrick was playing. Straight up, I would have the Dolphins with points if Fitzpatrick was playing. And the spread might not be 7, though. It may be lower.
Yeah, I don't. Let's see. Well, I'm trying to think what I put it in already. Tua, rushing yards by Tua, 11.5. I take that. I took it all day. That's what I'm on.
And right now, the line is 7. It jumped up to 7.5.
Yeah. Well, the public money's going to be on the Chiefs. Public money's on the Chiefs, so I'm staying off of it, and I'll just take Tua over 11.5 rushing yards, Kelce over 75.5, and I think that's where the matchups get there.
Again, I just don't think you can say Miami's defense is fine, and maybe they'll do something to slow down the Chiefs. I don't necessarily foresee it's going to be that much of a slowdown, but Miami can't keep up with them. Patrick Mahomes, they have scored fewer than 20 points just once in his 43 career starts. The Miami Dolphins done that twice in the last 2. So you're not going to score points, and not that the Chiefs defense is going to blow anybody apart, but that's not how they win anyway. So I don't see a road.
I agree with the concept of what you're saying, but what we've seen in the last couple of weeks from the Chiefs, 22 points against Denver, that's not a track meet. That's not a track meet. That's a bad Denver offense and it's okay defense that they scored 22 points on. 27 against Tampa Bay. All right, what happened in Tampa Bay? They went out. They had a huge lead in the first half. Tyreek Hill looked like he was running the friggin' 400 meters in the Olympics, up and down the field, waving by, doing flips and everything like that. But in the second half, they didn't score. So that adjustment slowed them down. Okay. I mean, and then they always take that track meet with Las Vegas in 35-31. But the last 2 weeks, especially the last game and a half, they're showing you that they haven't really been lighting up. So I'm interested to see.
They're not running the ball.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a healthy scratch last week.
They're running it.
Absolutely killed me. Absolutely killed me in my fantasy leagues. And
they have no running game.
Yeah, and listen, you seen Miami's defense win games for them like they did with the Rams. It's going to be a battle, and I don't think that we're going to see some kind of track meet. This is going to be a tough game for Kansas City. Do they win 28-10? 21-10, something like that, absolutely possible with Tua on the quarterback. But at the same time, I'm not comfortable laying the 7.
Yeah, it is a tough spot for them. I mean, they're going to win the game. I'm not concerned about that. Just the question is, can they cover the 7 points? Especially, back, even if it's backdoor, are they up 13 and they get a touchdown late, Miami? So, it's the line's good. The line's going to it's shifting the room. I'll put it that way. Tennessee 8-4, visiting the 1-11 Jags. Titans laying another 7 in this one, over under 52.5. Titans are 6-1 against Jacksonville since 2017. And Jacksonville, listen, to their credit, they've lost 11 straight games, but they've been in those games. They've lost 4 games by 3 or fewer points this year. That's the most in the NFL. For the 5 or 6 Jacksonville Jaguars fans that are out there, you probably got to feel good about that, because at least your team is they're in these games. They're not getting the doors blown off. I remember the game, and they were like a 2-touchdown dog to Green Bay. That was a 4-point game. They were a big dog to Minnesota last week. I had them in Survivor, made me sweat. They finally had a way to get me through. So
at least you didn't have Seattle.
That's right. It's like,
yeah, right.
Hess was trying to sabotage you.
He's been out of that one for a while. Here's your pick, guys. I mean, I don't even. Why is this coming up? I don't even. The grand. I mean,
what is going on?
How about don't eat Chinese food is bad for you?
How about Hui Young all day, every day?
Yeah.
Brian's never been to Hui Young.
Wild Ginger. I'll let you guys know about Wild Ginger.
Eastern Phoenix.
He's mentioning that because we talked about Brian Hess, and how Brian Hess has an affinity thing for all things Chinese,
Asian. Titans squeaked out a week 2 win. One of those games that Jacksonville lost by 3 or fewer was week 2 to Jacksonville, coming off that win over the Colts, 33-30. Tony, I mean, listen, there's going to be a different quarterback there next year. Apparently, maybe not a different coach. They found a running back out of nowhere. We'll see if that continues. But I mean, I guess there's something to build on in Jacksonville, even at 1-11.
Yeah, when these teams played last time, it was a 33-30 game. I think that was a
over.
That was a big time over, wasn't it? Mike Glennon under center for Jacksonville. Nope, can't do it. I'm taking Tennessee. I think Tennessee refocuses. You give Jacksonville some credit; they do play hard, and I think that's one of the reasons why their coach's job is reportedly safe. You have to love that. But I think this is a game right now where AJ Brown gets busy, Derrick Henry gets back on track. Tennessee wins, and I'm taking Tennessee. I'm laying the 7. I really like this game right now. Eventually Mike Glennon catches up to him. Let's put it that way.
Mike Glennon, former Bears quarterback. I mean, points all day in this game. We're going points.
Points.
That's all I'm
You like the over?
Huh? AJ Brown touchdown. AJ Brown touchdown. I like that. And everything Derrick Henry over 108 yards. Take it.
I think his over/under is 115.
So you look at the playoff picture in the AFC. The Titans right now, they have the lead in the AFC South, so they have the 4 seed, but they are tied with the Colts, who have a game against the Raiders. This is going to come down to the wire. This is a game, and I always say this, you have to win the games that you're supposed to win. You are supposed to beat a team that's 1-11, that you've beaten 6 out of 7 times, that you are a touchdown favorite on the road against. You cannot lose this game. There is no way, shape, or form that Tennessee can lose this game. And Jacksonville took it to them in week 2. That was a close game that Jacksonville could have won. So Tennessee really shouldn't take this team lightly, but you have to walk out with a win if you intend to try to win your division. So give me Tennessee. I will lay the 7, but I'm telling you,
absolutely. Must-win game.
So here's 2 teams that suck. The 3-9 Dallas Cowboys visited the 2-9-1 Bengals. Cowboys -3, over-unders 43. Dallas allowing 32.8 points per game. That is the most in team history. Nolan, eat a dick. 167.8 rushing yards against, most in the NFL. Nolan, eat a dick. Cincinnati, 423-1 since 2019. That is the worst in the NFL. However, I will tell you that not too many games right now can you say that Andy Dalton walks in as the better starting quarterback, but he does in this one, going back to the jungle for the first time as a non-Bengal. Meads, I don't want them to win today, but they're probably going to.
This is the Andy Dalton game. You know what I mean? I can't see the Bengals stopping the Cowboys today. And actually, I think the Cowboys stopped the Bengals today. So I think the Cowboys defense plays well today. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. Just for you, Brian.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys offense against the Bengals secondary. I think they're going to have a lot of success. I have Andy Dalton prop over 1.5 touchdowns thrown. I think CeeDee Lamb gets in the end zone. I think Amari Cooper gets in the end zone. Even Michael Gallup has an opportunity to get in the end zone. Dalton really likes him.
Whoa, big day.
I like the over 43 here. I think most of the points are going to be scored by Dallas. If it doesn't hit, it's going to be the Bengals' fault. But then again, the Dallas's defense is absolutely horrible. They might force some turnovers here and there, but I mean, T. Higgins is a little bit healthy. Tyler Boyd is going to have a huge game most likely. Gio Bernard out of the backfield is probably going to have a decent day, good enough to hit that over. So let's hopefully the Bengals find some magic and win the game. But I'm not 100% in love with it. Dallas should win. Unfortunately, over 43.5 and Andy Dalton over 1.5 yards. I mean, 1.5 touchdowns. That's what I'm on.
Dumb. Why are you gonna play this? Can they go play the Chiefs right now? Stupid. No, I agree.
Yeah, right? You just want them to lose. Just kidding.
Yeah, there's no point. I've been banging this, and I'm in these cowboy groups where they're like, "Oh, all I want for win in December." You're an idiot. What's the point? Like, I mean, like, why are you just this constant? You know, I just want what does this do for you? Who cares? Like, come on. I want to go win a championship, not some nonsense game against a 2-win team in December. Who cares?
Well, Brian, unfortunately, if you look at the schedule, they have winnable games.
I know they
realistically had a chance to win out. which will be a death sentence. And if they do beat the Giants, it might be for the division, actually. So it's kind of –
they can't even lose.
Yeah, so hopefully Bengals bring it.
It is so frustrating. Andy Dalton's the first player to face a team as its current franchise pass touchdown leader since Peyton Manning in 2013. How about them apples? Yeah, Dallas wins. Shoot me in the face.
Real quick before we get off of Cincinnati, Marvin Lewis getting a ton of love by the NFL now. Ton of love. They want to bring him back. I mean, you know, he Marvin Lewis. What's that?
Doug's job.
Well, here, yeah, that might be a decent fit because Marvin Lewis is
going to
kind
be
of
500
like
somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, you know, Lewis and Lovie Smith. I mean, if you look at them and what they were doing is they were the guys who never really got off the hump in the playoffs, right? Now they're probably trying to get a job back. So we'll see.
Stupid game. This should be fun. Houston Texans 4-8 against the 5-7 Chicago Bears. Texans laying 2 on the road. Over under 45.5. Houston has never lost to the Chicago Bears. 4-0 all time. That doesn't even count that draft. Watson 110.0 pass rating, the highest in a history of the NFL by a quarterback who has a below 500 record, minimum of 8 starts. This is like a psych experiment for you, Meads, because you get to watch this game. You get to watch the guy you didn't take and like lament that. Like, I don't think there's going to be a spot at any point in this game where you go 3.5 minutes without just imagining the draft. Like it's always good. Like he makes a
no.
pass, you're going to see him on the draft stage. There's a touchdown, you're going to see him on the draft stage. Trubisky throws a pick, you're going to see him on the draft. Like this is just a microcosm of that. The fact that Houston's favored on the road, potentially no Brandon Cooks, we know no Will Fuller, PED. So I don't know how they're throwing the ball to. David Johnson is not going to play, so this is a Duke Johnson day. Defense ain't that good. So they really must not like the Bears here, as that's the vibe that I get.
Speaking of the Bears,
I got.
No, just real quick. We mentioned Lovie Smith too many times. He just got fired by Illinois, by the way. We talked about Lovie Smith 4 times today. He just got fired by Illinois
This morning?
20 seconds ago.
Well, have you watched an Illinois game? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, it's a different animal. But go ahead, Meads. I'm sorry. I just thought that was hysterical.
I mean, today I feel the Bears win. I don't want them to. But I could also see Deshaun Watson just showing out with absolutely nobody. He could still win a game. I mean, that's what irks me the most is that he's on this Texans team that just wastes him away. I mean, the guy's so good. He does it with nobody. And we may see it today. Like, there's possibility. I think the Bears are going to be a little too much. I think they're going to run the ball. I like David Montgomery. He's over 65 yards today. And I think Mitch could do it with his legs. I don't want to see him win, but I think they win today. Sucks.
Isn't it great?
Defense is a leaking sieve.
Listen,
defense is a leaking sieve now. I think they pretty much given up.
Yeah, but you don't have to be Mahomes or Watson to score on the Texans defense. They're allowing over 400 yards per game. They're allowing 151 on the ground and an opponent pass rating of 106.6. That's all of the worst numbers in the history of the Houston Texans going back to 2002. So Mitch Trubisky might actually be okay in a weird, like alternate universe kind of way. He might actually have a decent day today.
Yeah, this could be a Mitch game. Tampa Bay Mitch game. 6 touchdowns, everyone's high hopes, and then next week they come back down.
It's a David Montgomery game, that's for sure. Last two weeks, the Bears found their running game, against the Packers and against Detroit, and this is another team that they're going to continue to exploit it. And, Montgomery, I love over 67.5 yards as a prop. I think he hits that easily. The other thing, too, is no Will Fuller, gone. Kenny Stills cut. Brandon Cooks out. They're the only person that – what's that?
Kiki.
Do you love me? Yeah, I got you. Absolutely. Kiki Kote, if you have him, put him in your lineup because, listen, if the kid gets the ball, he's lightning. So – and Deshaun Watson is going to have to be finding some way to throw the ball to it, and we're going to probably see a lot of him. And I think that Chicago Bears getting 2 points at home, I think they get it done.
I'm not watching this game.
You don't ever watch any games.
That's not true. I watch Red Zone, but I don't want to. I wouldn't. Yeah,
either
when it's on Red Zone, I'm going to do something else. There you go. Last of the 1 p.m. games, a rematch of Super Bowl 50. Cam Newton remembers it well. 4-8 Broncos at 4-8 Panthers. Panthers laying 3.5. Over under is 44.5. Denver's 5-1 all time against Carolina, including that game. Carolina is 0-3 when McCaffrey plays and 4-5 without, which literally makes zero sense. No logic whatsoever. As good as that guy is, you are much better without him. Sure. That's 2020. That's the NFL.
Well, he's out today.
He is out today, so maybe that bodes well for them.
Yeah.
Drew Lock, only quarterback with 10-plus picks and fewer than 10 passing touchdowns this season, might be a need to change the guard there. As much as I liked him coming into the year in Denver. And these two teams aren't going anywhere, but I don't really know what to make of this game. Denver played Kansas City decently hard last week. They did cover the line. They've played well against Carolina. They've had games where Drew Lock doesn't look like he's absolutely terrible, and there's games where he looks like he does. There's completely no consistency there. They do play better with a quarterback instead of a converted wide receiver, but I don't really know, what to make of this team. But I look at the Carolina side; they've now lost 6 straight after starting 3-2. So I don't know.
No, they beat Detroit a couple weeks ago.
Well, I'm showing 0-6. Sorry, week 6 through 12. I'm sorry, I'm a week off. So they won, but they're 0-6, week 6 through 12. What do you make of them?
They're an average team at best. That's to below average. What's their record? 4-8. Yeah. So I mean, when you look at them, they're in a division with Tampa Bay. They're in a division with New Orleans. So you're staring at 4 losses before you even get out of this training camp. So, Matt Rule, they played hard. Bridgewater, okay. Some of the guys, in the receiving corps has stepped up a little bit. You have, I think DJ Moore's out today. So, it's going to be a little difficult to see if this Carolina team can score points against Denver's defense, who did pretty decent job against Kansas City. I like the Panthers. I like them at home. The only thing that I could think might give the Broncos the edge if they could kind of control a running game with Gordon and Lindsey, if they break some big runs or able to kind of take it, a little dink and dunk fashion. I don't want Denver and Drew Lock in a shootout with Teddy Bridgewater. I think that bodes well for the Panthers. So I'll take the over 44.5 though. I think that number is way too low. And we'll go from there. I'm not touching the game, but I do think the Panthers will win.
Yeah, game I could care less about. So I'm gonna take the points though. I'm gonna take Denver with the points.
I think both of these teams are better served losing. That's just the way I look at it. So
yeah, listen. When you look at this, you look at the standings, Bri, half the NFL right now is competing for a top 5 picks.
Yeah, but again, I have these conversations. Oh, you can't tank. Well, no, you can't tell the players to tank, but you as a fan can say, hey, I'm probably better off losing today.
It's common sense. I mean, there's no tanking in the NFL, but
common sense is not that common, my friend.
I mean, realistically, if either of these teams went out, right, and they land 8-8, it doesn't get them in the playoffs.
Nope.
So if you're not in the playoffs and you have no chance to be in the playoffs, what's the point?
And both of these teams arguably could take a quarterback.
Well, they're not with 4. What? Listen,
no, I'm saying, by the way, you could, if you could get yourself in position, maybe make a move to go get one, the lower you are. So what I'm saying is, it's not as if you have any. Bridgewater signed for 2 more years. Drew Lock is on a rookie deal. It's not like you have a commitment to somebody. It's not like you're the Eagles and Carson Wentz where you can't go do this. You have the ability to go take a quarterback. So that's what I'm saying. Speaking of teams taking quarterbacks, listen, this game is not an if, but by how much? 0-12 Jets against the 8-4 Seahawks, which is my survivor pick of the week because I didn't take them last week. Laying 15.5, which is now up to 16 that I saw. Over under 47.5. Russell Wilson has not lost back-to-back games versus non-divisional opponents since weeks 1 and 2 of 2018. And by God, he's not going to do it today. The Jets have lost 12 straight. That's the longest streak in franchise history. Going to make that 13. However, the Seahawks, after starting 6-1, have lost 3 of 5. Means they're not going to lose this game, right? I mean, I said that last week, and I lost me money in my money line parlay. Those motherfuckers, but whatever.
I can't see him losing this game. If anything, the Jets are going to find a way to lose the game, even if Seattle's trying. So
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, 16 is such a big number, though. Such a big number. I mean, if I was going to play this game, I'd probably take Seattle in the first half, maybe try to cut it down. But Russell Wilson, I mean, I got him in my league. He's just been playing so mediocre. I have Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is out playing Russell Wilson right now. So this might be a get-back game for Russ, but I lean towards more playing maybe the first half. 16 is so much anymore, man. It's been a dog year. It's been a dog year in the NFL.
When you look at this too, right? When you talk about get-right games, Kansas City's offense wasn't coming out of the woodwork at the beginning of the season, and there wasn't really much hype for Mahomes to be the MVP until he played the Jets and he lit them up. Russell Wilson's MVP talk completely dissipated since the last couple, and rightfully so. I mean, the Seattle offense can do nothing but throw the ball deep. They can't run the ball. They really can't do much. They could try to take the shots with DK Metcalf, but now teams are playing, cover fours against them, getting deep behind, getting deep. So Wilson, they're going to have to try to find something somewhere to actually generate a more consistent offense than just a big play every now and then. Wilson's magic's definitely going to carry this Seahawks team over the Jets. That I don't even think that's a question. I believe Crowder's out today. I believe Denzel Mims out today. So if you need a sneaky fantasy play, Rashard Perryman against the worst secondary in the NFL is probably going to be a good play. I think Seattle comes out, and I think it's going to be a pretty decent scoring game. I think Seattle puts up about 30 themselves. If you think that the Jets could get 17 points, then you might want to try to hit that over a little bit. So I'm not laying 15.5 at all in any NFL game this season. I mean, it's just ridiculous for whatever reason. I mean, so listen, I felt 100% comfortable laying 30 against Bama. Taking Bama minus 30, but I'm not doing it in the NFL. So I'll take Seattle. I'll take the over, but definitely not laying 15.5.
Well, what's kind of interesting is, Seattle's defense has turned it around the last couple games. They're allowing 130 yards less per game than they were. They're allowing about 160 yards less in passing per game. They're getting more sacks. They're allowing about 10 less points.
Flag on the fucking play right there. Listen, last two games, they played against Colt McCoy and Carson Wentz. And they lost to Colt McCoy. So the defense getting better, I'm going to pump them brakes a little bit.
I mean, they still lost to the Giants.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, can they lose to the Giants and Jets in back-to-back weeks at home?
You know what? It's 2020.
Well, you can't say they lost to the Giants. I mean, Giants are the hottest team in the league. So you can't. I don't think Seattle runs the ball enough. I think they can run the ball. I think they put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands too much sometimes and say go with it. Carson's a good running back. Yeah, but I don't think they run the ball enough.
Carson's been hurt. He hasn't been himself at all, right? And then Rashad Penny's been out. We don't talk about Rashad Penny being a complete horrendous pick enough. But it has been. I mean, there's no reason why he should have never been a first-round running back. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, and then who they have? DJ Dallas. The other kid from Arkansas. I forget his name. Alex Collins. They don't have running backs to go out there and beast mode is long gone. So I think when they look at it, like, do I hand the ball to DJ Dallas? Do I hand the ball to Chris Carson, or do I let Russell Wilson try to make a play? I think that's where they're leaning to, and it's just not working.
Yeah. I mean, look, we said a couple weeks ago, like, they had the inside track to the division because their schedule really opened up, was a lot weaker than both the Rams and the Cards, but that assumed the Giants win, to be fair. So, we'll see where it ends up. I still think they probably find a way to take it, but they will win today, God willing, says my survivor pick. Colts and Raiders. Colts laying 3 here, 8-4 versus 7-5. Over under is 52. The Raiders offense has scored 30 plus points in 4 of the last 5. However, they scored about 6 in Atlanta. That was the 5th game in that group. The Colts have not allowed 100 plus yard receiver to a tight end since week 8 of 2016. That was Kelsey. Maybe temper your expectations on Darren Waller if that trend is to hold. Tony, I don't know what to make of this Raider team. I mean, I can't get that egg out of my mind against the Falcons. And then last week, you pretty much should have lost to the Jets. So I don't really have a whole lot of confidence in your ability to beat anybody at this point.
Yeah, if you're, it's kind of funny that, I mean, listen, if the Jets weren't just trying to tank that game and running the old Madden Engage 8 defense, with a rookie free agent. They literally had a rookie free agent cornerback, Lamar Jackson. If you think the other Lamar Jackson's having a bad season, this guy's having even a worse season. Man defense against the fastest receiver in the draft. So it shows you that the Jets really weren't trying to win. That was the first time that play was run in 30 years of keeping that kind of data, and Greg Williams was fired for it. So the Raiders should have lost to the Jets if it wasn't for the Jets tanking. Here's the problem, though. Indianapolis Colts defense has not showed up for many weeks now. They were supposed to be a very vaunted defense and everything like that, but they gave up, 28 points to the Jets. They gave up 43 to Atlanta. I mean, which was – we're still scratching – I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong stat here. Hold on. They gave up 20 to Houston, 45 to Tampa Bay, 31 – 17. I mean, so their defense is not going in the right direction. And Raiders is a team that can do anything but score. I'll take the Colts money line, I guess, but this is a game that I'm not touching because both of these teams are a little bit skeptical. Josh Jacobs is going to play. He's banged up with a high ankle sprain, but he's going to give it a go. Devontae Booker last week filled in for him and did not do a job anybody expected. So I'll take the Colts to win. Not a game I'm touching. I'd lean over 52.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this game. I can't stand Philip Rivers. Can't stand watching him play. I lean the Colts. Let's go with Colts. More towards the over. There's going to be points in this game.
Rivers has gotten better the last 7 games. I mean, listen, he's throwing for 40 more yards per game than he was in the first 5. He's got way more touchdowns, passer rating up, giving the ball away less. And listen, we talk about how important offensive lines and coaching are, and I made the correlation to the Eagles and Wentz last week. Philip Rivers is not very good at football anymore, but a great offensive line and pretty good coaching by Frank Reich has this team in a spot to possibly win this division and keeping Rivers upright. He is not getting sacked. So you can do a lot more when you're not in your ass. So,
Well,
again, they're going to make
Costanzo playing. That's going to be a big key. If Anthony Costanzo plays, who's been in and out of the lineup, if he plays, he's questionable. I mean, that'll be a big boost to the Indianapolis Colts.
Absolutely. And I like Michael Pittman in this game. I know
Raiders have no pass rush either.
Yeah. He's had a bit of a resurgence the last couple of weeks on my fantasy bench, cost me a playoff spot, neither here nor there.
The fantasy player you want this week, I believe, is going to be Johnny Taylor again. He showed out a little bit. He's getting a lot more involved in the offense passing wise. And listen, Darren Waller, what he did last week, you have to ride him. Absolutely. Gotta expect a big thing.
I don't think either of these teams thought they'd be 5-7 at this juncture, but for different reasons. I thought that Washington probably thought they'd have about 3 wins at this point, and San Fran they'd probably have about 9. So that's what they thought coming into the year. It hasn't turned out that way. 5-7 versus 5-7. The Niners laying 2.5 in a home game in Arizona, over under 43.5. And teams to play home games at a different NFL stadium are 1-5 since the merger. Arizona 49ers, that doesn't really have a very good ring to it, but they are allowing the fewest fantasy points per game to tight ends. I know Thomas had a couple of good weeks there. Would you believe me if I told you that Nick Mullins is averaging 280.4 yards per game, and that's the 4th most by a starter in the NFL of minimum of 10 starts since 1950? How about that?
This is another game that it's a weird game. I mean, 49ers, they beat the Rams a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, why? Like, how did that happen? We all already know the Washington football team, what they did to Big Ben and the Steelers, listen, I'm just saying, probably a letdown game for Washington after the big win. I'll take San Fran, and it makes no sense. NFL stands for no fucking logic, and I think this is one of them games where I'll take San Fran. They're home. Brandon Ayuk has been good. They got Deebo Samuel back. I mean, he's a hell of a football player. Unfortunately, Kittle isn't available. And I think San Fran, they just get it done a little bit more in the return to the Bay Area, which is now Arizona for Alex Smith. Doesn't go as well as it did in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I like San Fran too. I do like the Redskins defense. They'll keep them in the game. I think missing Gibson today is going to be big for the Redskins. You're going to see a lot of dink and dunk. Alex Smith, that's what he does. You saw it the other night. 5-yard pass, 8-yard pass. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. But I feel Nick Mullins. I like Nick Mullins. I'll roll with the Niners today.
And good luck figuring out what running back is going to be successful and with Shanahan. I mean, yeah, it's he just uses the hot hand, I guess, or whoever he owes money to or something. I don't know how he determines that rotation, but yeah, he does.
The Niners are 22-8 with Jimmy a starting quarterback. 6-24. Everybody else.
What's that?
The game definitely means more to the Redskins. The game definitely means more to the Redskins.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just leaning the Niners. I'm just rolling with it.
It's a weird game. I mean, Washington has every reason to. Well, actually, no. Washington has every reason to lose this game because if they. But it's just. I think they're in a bad position now with the ability to tank or not tank, but lose out to get that quarterback. So Alex Smith's going to play, and you're right. But I'm with you with the 49ers, man.
This is interesting. 10-2 Saints at the 3-8-1 Eagles. Saints laying 8 over under 42.5. The Eagles will be starting quarterback Jalen Hurts in his first career start in the NFL. Came in last week in relief in Green Bay, did okay. They have scored 17 points or fewer in 4 straight, and the Saints have allowed fewer than 17 points in 5 straight. So where's that Eagles number? Because 17 might be the number to keep an eye on. I don't know what your expectation is of Hurts. Listen, I'm not. I think this is a bottom 5 roster in the league. I would love to see Jalen Hurts do very, very well, and they win a bunch of games, and they screw their draft pick up and cause more problems and keep more people that don't get fired because I hate them. But this is not a good spot because the Saints' defense is really, really good, and that's the reason they're winning games. Kamara's really fallen off the last couple games here with Taysom Hill. He's had fewer than 100 scrimmage yards in each of those games. He had 6 of those. He had over that. 6 of them with Breeze. Rookie quarterbacks 1-6 against the Saints since 2016. They've not let a 100-yard rusher in 50 straight games. 4th longest streak since 1950. So Hurts has to do something today if the Eagles are going to be in this game. He's a different quarterback than Carson Wentz, but I think Wentz is more talented. Neither here nor there. Your read.
My read, listen, this is all about the defense. This is all about offense creativity of Sean Payton, and the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles have a ton of problems. This line, it was 7.5, dropped down to 7 now. I don't know where you got your 8 from, but maybe it's 8 now. The fact that it's this close, what's that?
I'll double check the live.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's around that area. So. Top
7.5. Yeah,
it's 7.5 now. This line screams that it should be like 10.5. So I don't know why it's so low. Maybe it's just rookie starting quarterback who may or may not be able to throw the football in the NFL. I mean, the jury's really still out with Jalen Hurts. He looked good in a limited zone prevent. With a couple man concepts last week in a game that was already over. New Orleans coming to Philadelphia, it's a place that they're very comfortable playing in because they've won a number of times there, especially in the playoffs a few years ago. No Drew Brees, no problem. Taysom Hill, listen, they've used him well. I think the Eagles right now have ego problems since, in that locker room, disconnect. I don't know. I think initially in the first half of the game, it might be close. But eventually the Saints wear them down. They just have too many playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, and their defense is just one of the top units in the NFL going against a rookie quarterback. I don't know about you. Great defense against rookie quarterback. I'm taking great defense all the time. So I'll take New Orleans. I bought the hook down to 7, and I'm very comfortable with that.
I'm leaning towards the Eagles with points here today. Taysom Hill, I think the Eagles defense can contain him compared to the defenses that he's recently played against. The more games coaches see of him, the more they can game plan. I think it's going to be low scoring today, and I'm going to take the Eagles with the plus points. I just have a hunch. Like I said, it's a dog kind of year. This is one of the games I'm going to take the points.
If you're an Eagles fan, which obviously none of us are, but let's just put that weird hat on for a minute. I don't know what you want today. I don't know if you want Hurts to play well. I don't know if you want to play poorly. I don't know if you want to win. I don't know if you want to lose. You are in like this disaster scenario where I don't think any road is positive. I really believe that. Like, I don't know where, like, I don't know. Like, I just don't, like, what's the best outcome here? I think the best outcome is you can figure out if Doug's the reason or not. And if Hurts struggles too, maybe you shift some blame off of Carson. Maybe it doesn't become all on Carson's shoulders coming into the next season. I have no idea what to do.
All right, first of all, Hurts is going to struggle. He's a rookie quarterback going against a top defense. He's going to struggle. That's like, I mean, everybody, all these guys are struggling.
Okay, but then was he put in the spot to struggle?
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
Was he started today to struggle to take the pressure off of Wentz?
Well, I think if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm sorry that hurt coming out. But when you're looking at this, what you want is Jalen Hurts to go out there. You want Jalen Hurts to play well and show that he's capable of playing quarterback in the NFL. That does two things. It raises his draft value for maybe one of those teams that we mentioned that might be in a quarterback situation, like, but not be bad enough to actually get there. Like maybe like your Chicago Bears. The Bears are not going to be, they'll probably be 10 to 11 pick. Something like that. If they could shift a second round pick for Jalen Hurts, if he looks good in the second half of the season and you move forward with your quarterback from the future there, that's fine. So you need him to play well, because if he plays well, it's just an added asset to the Eagles. Then you have the dilemma about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going to go into the season next year, most likely as QB1. If Jalen Hurts plays well this year, he's going to be in a battle for the competition that he most likely will win if he plays like he has to play. So but for right now, you want your quarterback to play well, but you also want him to play well, look good, but you also want the Eagles to lose if you're smart to stay up in that draft position. So that if I'm cheering for that team and I'm in that situation, I want Hurts to look good, but I want him to lose.
For an Eagles fan, I'm be curious to see how Doug calls the game. I mean, it's been a big issue in the city of how he's calling and using Wentz. Now, is he going to switch the game plan up with Hurt? You know what I mean? Is he going to switch it up? Because they said when Foles came in, they ran Foles plays, and now are they going to run Hurts plays? I'm curious to see how the offense, how he calls the game compared to he calls it to Wentz.
So I'd expect them to run a lot more RPO, because I know Wentz did not like running the RPO, but Foles ran it very well. I think Jalen Hurts is probably going to be running that as well. I'd expect that a lot of their offense. The head scratching part to me is how they used Hurts throughout the season up to this point and up to last week is the packages and stuff that they used for him were rudimentary and not very well and
predictable.
Really predictable.
Yeah, like if we know what they're doing, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, so it was a weird situation with how to use Hurts there. But, I mean, listen, if Hurts goes out there and plays bad, I can't see any Eagles fan wanting that to happen, because it just shows that you just flushed a second-round pick down the toilet.
I don't know. I think this whole thing. That's why I said it's not a very attractive job if he leaves, because I think that there's
right.
not a lot of positive growth. I really don't. Yeah, give me the Saints. I think I guess spot on Green. I think I said 34-10. I'll just go with that. I don't really care. Falcons 4-8, Chargers 3-9. Falcons laying a half of a point. Call it a pick 'em. Over under 49. Justin Herbert, one of 5 quarterbacks with 275 passing yards and 20-plus passing touchdowns with fewer picks than 10 this year. If you'd take nothing else out of the Chargers, if you're a Charger fan, you have to love what you have seen from your rookie quarterback. Could there be a coaching change? Maybe. Guys will be healthy back next year on the defense. Things are looking up for the Chargers, even if nobody's paying attention. For the Falcons, no Julio Jones in this game. Matt Ryan is a completely different player without Julio Jones because he stinks. And the numbers look pretty good. Listen, if you want to compare these guys this year, Herbert's having a better year in pretty much every tangible metric. So, Chargers don't win games, though, which is weird, especially if they're one-possession games. Don't really have a read on this one. It is on the road for the Falcons. I have no idea. That's the weird. This is a
What a
weird game.
game.
Yeah.
Over.
Two teams
Over.
that just love to blow
Over.
it. Two teams that
Yeah.
love to blow it. I'm betting when the fourth quarter starts. When the fourth quarter starts.
Yeah. The only thing I'm touching here is the over. I mean, there's really no issue for both these teams should definitely score mid-20s, I believe. 27-24. If you want to tell me the Chargers win, all right, let's go for that one. Chargers finally get a win. The running game for Atlanta is non-existent. I mean, the Chargers have Eckler back. Keenan Allen is just a monster with Justin Herbert. Give me the Chargers. Give me the offense. You know what? I'll take the points and the over.
Let me ask you this question. Here's one for you. Who's better off winning this game?
Who's neither team? But
Again, this is just a rhetorical questions this morning. I mean,
listen, this is the NFL's nightmare. Now, I don't know how widely most people know this, but the NFL, when they sit back and they make their schedule, they try to make everybody 500. That's what they want. They want everybody 500, except one or two teams as far as like a dynasty, and then maybe two teams bad. But everybody else, they want 500. This year has been a complete nightmare for the NFL, with everybody benefiting from losing the game. This is even worse than the NBA. With the bottom 6 teams trying to fight out the tank. I mean, this is just like there's no reason for it. Who needs to win this game? Listen, as we talked earlier, Anthony Lynn's job is on the line. Justin Herbert has to look good. There's no possible way that Atlanta has any reason to win this game. So Chargers put up a little bit more fight. That's why I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
I agree. They need to get some good juju going in the next year. I mean, for the most part, your roster's there. Like, you're not really going to go get. They have actually. It's weird though, because it's such a young team, but they have a lot less question marks than Atlanta does. So from that standpoint, I would say that they could at least take a step with a win there. Although I don't think either team should win. Meads, I know you love Aaron Rodgers as an NFC North team fan. The Packers are averaging 37 points a game against NFC North opponents. That is the third most versus divisional opponents in a single season. And you have to think one of those years was New England in the Brady years. You have to think one of them had to be that year. Green Bay's 9-3. Did I put Detroit Red Wings? Wow. I was up late last night.
I noticed that.
What happens when you're up at 2 a.m. doing this stuff? Okay, sure. Hold on. Time out. Let's refix that. Who would have a better shot to win this game, the Lions or the Red Wings? Now, that's a fair question.
Yeah, right.
9-3 versus 5-7. Packers laying 9 over under 54.5. Look, Green Bay is going to win this game, and I think that in this really weird way, the opposite has happened to Rodgers with the Love pick that had happened to Wentz with the Hurts pick, in that Rodgers came out just ready to light the world on fire, like, how dare you kind of type thing. Whereas Wentz kind of struggled with it, millennial, so on and so forth. This again, the Packers are going to win, right? But the question then becomes, again, it's an interim head coach. The Lions have not defeated the Packers with interim head coach since week 14 of 1988. Wayne Fontes was the head coach in that game. Aaron Rodgers, 5-0 against the Lions.
What a name. That's a name.
This is they're going to win this game. Do they cover 9?
Do we get a dead cat bounce here?
Lions play the Packers tough.
I was saying, do you get a dead cat bounce? Adrian Peterson came out already and said that, when you're looking at this team, it's fun to play football again. With new coach and a new objective, and the old term, the dead cat bounce. I think this might apply a little bit here with the Lions. I think they go out. I think, with Peterson, DeAndre Swift's back right now. You're looking at a team that's going to be able to run the ball. They should run the ball effectively. Stafford's a little bit banged up, though. I mean, I'm not laying 9 in an interdivision game, with this, but Packers win the game. I'm not laying a 9. If I had to take it, I would, because 10-point cover isn't out of the realm. But give me the Packers.
I'm taking the points with the Lions. I just think somebody play the Packers tough at home. I'm going to take the points. Hope the Packers lose.
Green Bay by like 100 or so. I don't know. I think Green Bay's going to win. This is a game where it's like, how do you not take the 9? It's like, I don't think Detroit put up a fight in this game. I really don't. I don't care that they're 5-7. This team went into Carolina, put them an over. I mean, Green Bay destroyed. If Green Bay's averaging 37 points, are the Lions going to score 28? Probably not. So, give me Green Bay in the hell with it. I don't feel good betting against the bad man. Sunday Night Football, really good game. 11-1 Steelers, 9-3 Bills. Bills are laying 2 against the 11-1 Steelers coming off that Washington loss. Over under 48.5. Pittsburgh's best defense in the league, allowing under 18 points per game. Buffalo has to fix their run game, though. Josh Allen leads the team with 6 rushing touchdowns. Everybody else has 4. That ain't going to stick. They got to figure that out.
Why?
Because you need your running backs to do something, not your quarterback to run the ball. I mean, you need something out of somebody else.
Well, listen, we talked about what Sean Payton's doing, with down there with Ty Hill. I mean, you're looking at, that's just their offense. Josh Allen is probably their best goal line option right now. I mean, Zach Moss, ball security issues. Devin Singletary's okay, but listen, Josh Allen's a football player. He's a big kid, and I don't listen. If no one complained when Cam Newton was leading his team in touchdown runs and Michael Vick and these other guys. I mean, so Lamar Jackson. I mean, Josh Allen. He's a football player. Let him lead the team in touchdowns. I like the Bills here. Pittsburgh drops too many balls. They just come back in big situations. It seems like they're coming up small. I mean, we've kind of predicted last week them struggling with Washington, right? This is a team that's very similar to Washington. It was funny though that Steelers practiced in full pads on Friday, which is very rare in today's NFL. So I don't know if it's a little bit of a panic issue or what, but the Steelers can't really run the ball, and they're going to need to do that to be successful. Ben and his 2-step dropbacks and everything like that, it's only going to last so much. And I'm going to go with Bills at home, and I'll lay the 2. Needs?
Yeah. No, I'm actually excited about this game. I like the Bills also, though. I think the Steelers are just going to take a little step back these last 2 games. I mean, I think that game's going to hurt them, Washington, but they don't run the ball like Tony said. I feel like it's not a Pittsburgh offense I really like. They're just dinking and dunking. Ben's not throwing the ball down the field. You got drops, banged up on defense. You lost Dupree. I believe they have someone out in the secondary also today. Josh Allen's incredible. To me, he's incredible. I wish she was on my team, but I'm going to roll with the Bills today.
To be fair, you probably wish about 30 guys in the league.
Anybody. Take anybody. Yeah, you're right. You take anybody right now. But I'm going to roll with the Bills at home. I'd be heavy on the Bills if there was a crowd there. The place would be going bananas tonight.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still going to roll with the Bills.
Would be breaking left and right.
It's just, but they're winning games differently. The last couple of years with McDermott there, they've been a very defensive team. They're allowing a lot more points this year than they previously have, a lot more yards than they previously have. So they're winning games because of their offense. And give the guy credit. He's been playing well. His numbers compare favorably to Ben, and Ben was the reason, Ben coming back, so he was going to be so good. Just to be fair, give the guy credit. Of the guys that were picked high in that draft, he clearly is the one out of that group. I mean, you put Lamar out of it, but he's been the one that's worked out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like Buffalo too. I thought Pittsburgh. I don't want to say you're a hollow 11-0, but they were a hollow 11-0. Like I didn't think it was that overly impressive. You win games, that's fine, but it wasn't like they were blowing teams out, and it wasn't they were beating good teams either. Not that I think Washington's all that good, but at the same time, you lost that game at home, a game you should have won. So I do think actually losing some games here could be good for them. Like you don't want to necessarily be so full of yourself coming into the postseason. Have some adversity, work through that, find out what your weaknesses are, and fix them before the games really matter. So yeah, I'll take Buffalo here. Last but not least, Monday night. We're gonna have just one Monday night game this week. That's a departure from recent.
Weird. No Tuesday football, no Wednesday football.
Yeah, there's no like Wednesday at like 1 p.m. So. Baltimore Ravens 7-5, Cleveland Browns 9-3. Ravens are laying 3 here on the road against a team with more wins than them. Over/unders 47. Top 2 rushing attacks in the league with top 2 or 2 bottom 5 passing attacks. Baltimore has dropped 4 of 6, each of them by 6 points or less. This is going to be actually a good game for a Monday night. I'm curious though, is this Browns disrespect, or is this people are just still on that Ravens bandwagon, so that's why they're making them the favorite?
You know, I haven't seen where the money is going on here. But you're looking at a very interesting line, especially, I mean, I don't say this often, but Baker Mayfield looked damn good against the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he hit every throw. He made some tough throws. The running game, though, I think is the key. I think the Ravens do an extremely well job stopping the run. If they can't run the ball in Cleveland, Baker's not going to be able to sit back there and tear him up. So I think that's where the line, is laying at 3. Baltimore needs this game more, as you like to mention. I think this is a game that Baltimore needs to. Joe Hayden is out, which is a huge loss for that Cleveland secondary. So I'm taking Baltimore minus the 3.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, beginning of the year, the Ravens blew them out. Baker did not play well. I mean, towards the Ravens here. I trust Lamar more than Baker, and I think it's going to come down to quarterback play.
Listen, Baker hasn't thrown a pick in 5 straight games. That's tied for the second longest streak for Cleveland since 1970. How about that? And it's like they haven't been relying on Baker to win games, but he had a great game against Tennessee. Just a huge, unbelievable. But at the same time, yeah, the 2 teams played early in the year. Ravens took it to them 38-6 when things were a lot better than they were right now for the Ravens. But they're very similar rushing teams. I think there's going to be a run game. I think the pass game might be the difference. If both teams can run, what quarterback can actually get, more of their pass game going? Both of them aren't really that good. They're both about 200 yards per game. That's not going to blow anybody away. Baltimore does need to win.
The yardage numbers, though, I don't think when you're looking at the top 2 teams that all they want to do is run the ball. Both teams just want to run and run and run. I think when you look at that, then I'm not going to really worry about the yardage that both quarterbacks are picking up, because Baker Mayfield hasn't had to win any games, and that's the reason why they're actually winning games. It's because they're not putting it in his hands to actually win the game. So both these teams, the Cleveland has been executing their game plan amazingly. Like you said, Stefanski's done a phenomenal job there. But I think the playmaker on both sides of the ball is the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews back. Hollywood Brown, maybe he gets behind the defense without Joe Hayden, and that's why I'm leading the Ravens.
It's tough.
Real quick question for you. Would you start Brown or Beasley today?
Say that again, Ant. Who did you say?
Brown or Beasley? Hollywood Brown or Beasley?
If I'm a favorite, if I think I'm going to win and I need the shore points, I go Cole Beasley. But if I think I need big points, I'm going to get Marquise Hollywood Brown. I think Brown just has the ability to take that one long touchdown run or one catch to get to the house to give you some big points. But he's also very, very capable of giving you a friggin' goose egg too. So it's Brown's more boom or bust. But if you just need the solid points, you have a good team, and maybe Beasley's like the only weakness, or your just flex plays like the only weakness. I try to take a sure thing and go with Cole Beasley if you just need some solid points. But if you're if your opponent has like good matchups, you know what I'm saying? Like one of them things, like your opponent has some great matchups against you, and you just know that it's going to be a tough week for you to win, I'd go Hollywood Brown.
Gotcha.
And that closes out right at the 2-hour mark, the Week 14 preview on the Sports Box. Appreciate everybody watching today. Give us a like on our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube. Join Outside the Box, our sports discussion group, over 4,300 members strong. Over 13,000 followers on our Facebook page. We obviously appreciate every single one of those. Good luck to all your bets. Good luck to all your fantasy picks today. Hope you can make some money and that you advance in your playoffs. On behalf of Meads and Quig, Brian Attard, we will catch you this week. Take care.
Wednesday night, guys. Baseline Jumpers returns, NBA playoffs. Me, your boy Ant, Yo Tone, and Paulie Scoops will be there Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, NBA predictions. Can't wait to see you.
See you guys.
Let's go.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.